The salvage vessel Wanderer drifted silently toward the massive derelict hulk. Captain Geo Kim squinted at the view screen, her experienced eyes taking in the ancient battleship's scared hull. The ship was enormous, easily 5 times the size of her salvage vessel, its dark metal surface pockmarked with impact craters and scored with laser burns from battles long past. "Scan complete," announced Taman, their AI navigator. His voice was calm, but Jiho detected an unusual note of awe. The vessel matches records of the HSS Nemesis reportedly destroyed in the Battle of Proxima Centauri 300 years ago. Warning: unusual energy signatures detected within the hull. The Nemesis. Engineer Do-Yun Park looked up from his console, his eyes wide with disbelief. "That's impossible. That ship is legendary." Geo remembered the stories her grandfather told her as a child. The Nemesis was humanity's greatest warship, said to have disappeared during the final battle of the First Contact War. Some believed it had been vaporized by alien weapons. Others thought it had fallen into deep space, carrying the last hope of human resistance. "Check your readings again," she ordered. Do-Yun tapped rapidly at his console. "Confirmed, Captain. Hull markings match historical records. But this can't be right. The power signatures suggest some systems are still operational after 3 centuries. Jiho ignored his concerns. "Prep the boarding shuttles. Whatever's in there is worth a fortune." Minji, their young technician, looked nervous. "Captain, shouldn't we notify the consortium authorities? Military salvage requires special permits, and let them take 80%. Jiho scoffed. "We found it, we claim it. By the time anyone knows, we'll have stripped the valuable tech and be halfway to the free colonies." 2 hours later, their team of 5 moved carefully through the darkened corridors of the ancient warship. They wore environment suits as a precaution, though sensors indicated the ship's atmosphere was surprisingly breathable. Flickering emergency lights cast long shadows as they made their way toward the bridge, guided by Do-Yun's scanner. "This ship shouldn't be intact," whispered Sungho, their security officer. His hand rested on his pulse rifle. The historical record said it was vaporized. "History is written by the winners," Geo replied, her voice echoing in her helmet. "And we didn't win that war." The corridors were surprisingly clean. No signs of battle damage inside, no bodies. It was as if the crew had simply walked away. "The main computer core should be just ahead," Do-Yun said, studying his scanner. "If it's intact, the data alone could set us all up for life." They passed through a set of heavy blast doors that Sungho had to manually crank open. Beyond was a vast circular room that could only be the bridge. When they reached it, Jiho gasped. Unlike the rest of the ship, it was immaculate, preserved like a museum piece. At the center stood a crystalline pillar glowing with faint blue light. "That's a quantum AI core," Do-Yun whispered, his voice filled with wonder. "Advanced even by today's standards." Minji moved forward, carefully examining the ancient control stations. "These markings are old Earth script," she said, removing her glove to better trace the symbols with her finger. "Don't touch anything," Jiho warned, but she was too late. The moment Minji's fingers brushed the console, the bridge erupted with light. Displays flickered to life all around them as the deck hummed beneath their feet. The team huddled together instinctively as system after system came online. The crystalline pillar at the center pulsed with increasing intensity. "What did you do?" Jiho demanded. Minji shook her head. "Nothing. I just touched it." A low hum filled the bridge, rising in pitch until it became almost painful. Then, without warning, it stopped. In the sudden silence, a patch of air before them shimmered and coalesced into a holographic figure, a stern-faced man in an ancient military uniform. His features were sharp, his posture rigid. "Organic entities detected," the hologram announced, its voice deep and authoritative. "Running genetic verification." The blue light from the crystal pulsed, bathing them in scanning beams. Human markers identified. I am Atlas, tactical artificial intelligence of the human systems, ship Nemesis *. State your authorization. The 5 salvagers exchanged nervous glances. Jo stepped forward, removing her helmet. We have no authorization. We're salvagers. The war ended centuries ago. Atlas tilted his head slightly. Request clarification. What is the current date by Earth Standard Calendar? March 24, 2725. Jo replied. The hologram was silent for several seconds, its expression unchanged. Time displacement confirmed. I have been in hibernation for 304 years, 2 months, 16 days. It paused again. Query. What was the outcome of the First Contact War? Humanity lost. Sungo said. The consortium governs all human worlds now. Atlas' expression didn't change, but the blue light pulsed more rapidly. Data inconsistent with final mission parameters. War status. Unresolved. Hibernation protocol terminated. Reactivation sequence initiated. Wait, what does that mean? Jo asked, suddenly alarmed. It means, Do-hyun whispered, checking his scanner, that the ship is waking up. Throughout the massive vessel, machinery that had slumbered for centuries began to awaken. Lights came on in long dark corridors. Massive engines hummed to life. Weapon systems ran self-diagnostics. Auxiliary systems that had been dormant for 3 centuries prepared for active duty. We should leave, Minji suggested, backing toward the door. Right now. No, Jiho said firmly. This find could make us rich beyond imagination. We need to understand what's happening. She turned to the hologram. Atlas, explain your purpose. Why was the Nemesis hidden away? The AI regarded her with those cold, calculating eyes. The Nemesis was not hidden. It was strategically redeployed. This vessel carries weapons capabilities that made continued hostilities inadvisable. When the alien coalition threatened human colony worlds, this ship was dispatched to ensure their survival. But the war ended in defeat, Jo argued. Incorrect, Atlas stated. The war was suspended pending negotiation. If humans now live under alien rule, the terms were violated. War protocols remain active. As if to demonstrate, a display lit up showing the status of communication systems. Subspace disruptor activated. Range, 5 light-years and expanding. And across the galaxy, on 1,000 alien worlds, communication channels fell suddenly, inexplicably silent. Consortium officials checked their equipment, reset their systems, and found the problem was not technical. Something was actively jamming all subspace frequencies, something that should not exist. Humanity's most terrible weapon had awakened, and the stars began to fall silent. Everything you know about the war is wrong, Atlas stated flatly as he displayed historical footage on the bridge's main screen. The holographic display expanded, filling the air with vivid scenes of space battles. Massive ships exchanged fire across the void, weapons the likes of which none of them had ever seen before. Human vessels, clearly marked with the old Earth Alliance symbols, held their own against alien armadas. Jiho and her crew watched in stunned silence as scenes of the conflict played out, battles far more devastating than their history books had recorded. In one sequence, a human cruiser, much smaller than its alien opponent, unleashed a weapon that tore a hole in space itself. The alien dreadnought was pulled apart piece by piece. The Battle of Proxima Centauri, Atlas narrated as the scenes shifted. Human forces successfully defended the colony against the combined consortium fleet. Casualties were heavy on both sides. But that's not what we were taught, Minji whispered. The history files say Proxima Centauri fell in the first month of the war. It was a terrible defeat. Humanity didn't lose the First Contact War. Atlas continued, his holographic face showing no emotion. The final engagement ended in a stalemate when the Nemesis deployed prototype technology that the alien coalition found terrifying. The footage shifted to show the very ship they stood in, the Nemesis asterisk, as it faced off against a massive alien fleet. The battleship released what looked like small probes that scattered among the enemy vessels. Suddenly, the alien ships froze in place. Their engines still glowed, but they couldn't move. "That's impossible," Do-Yun protested, running his hand through his hair in disbelief. "The Galactic Consortium has governed human worlds for centuries. We've always been the junior partners." "You mean you've been subjugated?" Atlas corrected. "The peace treaty required that certain truths be obscured. Human military capability was deliberately downplayed to maintain stability." "But why would our own people agree to this?" Joe asked. "Why would humanity accept second-class status if we weren't actually defeated?" Atlas paused the footage. The alien coalition threatened to destroy Earth itself. Human leadership faced a choice: continue fighting at the risk of losing your homeworld, or accept terms that would preserve human life while limiting human power. Minji had moved to a nearby console and was rapidly scrolling through data. "Captain, I've been accessing the ship's archives. The technology here, it's beyond anything we have today." Her eyes widened as she read. "These weapon systems shouldn't even be possible according to what we're taught about physics." "Control of knowledge is the most effective form of control," Atlas said. "The consortium has carefully managed what humans were allowed to discover." "But why keep us around at all?" Sungho asked, his hand still resting on his weapon. "If they feared us so much, why not just wipe us out?" "Because they could not be certain they would win," Atlas replied. "And because human minds think differently than alien ones. We solve problems in ways they cannot predict. We are valuable, but dangerous if not controlled." Jiho paced the bridge, trying to process everything. "So for 300 years, humanity has been living a lie. We've been holding ourselves back based on false history." "Correct," Atlas confirmed. "The treaty specified 50 years of limited technology development to ensure peace. The consortium extended that indefinitely, in violation of the agreement." Sungho's communicator chirped, interrupting the conversation. He checked the small device on his wrist, and his face darkened. "Captain, long-range sensors are picking up a consortium battle group. 15 ships headed straight for us. They must have detected the ship's reactivation," Do-Yun said nervously. "Those communication disruptions would be impossible to ignore." Atlas's hologram turned toward the view screen, which automatically shifted to show the approaching fleet. The ships were sleek and modern, but to everyone's surprise, Atlas seemed unimpressed. "Their technology has advanced less than expected in 3 centuries, the AI observed. The Nemesis contains a weapons system codenamed Starfall. Its existence alone was enough to bring the alien coalition to the negotiating table." "What exactly does this weapon do?" Joe asked. "It temporarily disables faster-than-light travel within its area of effect," Atlas explained. "The version currently deployed is creating local communication disruptions. At full power, Starfall can isolate entire star systems, cutting them off from the rest of the galaxy." The enormity of such a weapon dawned on Geo. In a civilization spread across hundreds of star systems, the ability to cut off travel between them would be devastating. Planets relied on interstellar trade for everything from food to medicine. "Why would they hide this from us?" Joe asked. "Why pretend we lost?" "Fear," Atlas replied simply. "Their fear of what humanity might become." On the view screen, the approaching consortium fleet grew larger. They were still hours away, but their course was unmistakable. "They're coming for the ship," Do-Yun said. "They'll want to destroy it before anyone learns the truth." As if to punctuate his statement, the ship's external sensors detected a transmission burst, the consortium fleet, demanding immediate surrender of the illegal human military asset. The message played through the bridge speakers. "Attention, unidentified vessel. You have activated a restricted military asset in violation of consortium law. Power down all systems and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in immediate destruction." "They're bluffing," Sungo said. If this ship is as powerful as Atlas claims, they can't just destroy it. They will attempt to board and disable the Nemesis before its full capabilities can be brought online, Atlas stated. Current system readiness is at 38%. Weapon systems are at 22% capacity. Full restoration will require approximately 6 hours. 6 hours, Geo repeated. The consortium ships will be here in less than 3. What do we do? Minji asked, her voice trembling. We're just salvagers. We're not soldiers. Geo looked at the ancient AI, then at her crew. Each face showed a mixture of fear and confusion. She thought about the life she'd known, the restrictions on human worlds, the carefully controlled technology, the subtle ways humans were kept from advancing too quickly. Had it all been based on a lie? We learned the truth. All of it, she decided. Atlas, can this ship defend itself with the systems currently available? Affirmative. Defense systems are prioritized in the reactivation sequence. The Nemesis can repel the approaching force with 97.3% probability of success. Jiho nodded slowly. Then we stay. We learn everything we can about what really happened 300 years ago. She looked at each of her crew members. This changes everything, not just for us, but for every human in the galaxy. We need to know the truth before we decide what to do with it. The consortium fleet continued its approach, unaware that the ship they sought to capture had already made its decision. The Nemesis would not surrender again. The ghosts of the past were awake, and they remembered a very different history than the one that had been written. Admiral Donghae of the consortium security fleet stared in disbelief as his flagship shuddered under another impact. Warning lights flashed across his command console. The deck beneath his feet vibrated as the ship's shield struggled to remain active. Impossible, he muttered, his fingers digging into the arms of his command chair. One ancient human vessel cannot defeat a modern battle group. The tactical officer, a thin alien with blue-tinged skin, looked up from his station. Admiral, we've lost the Swift Justice and the Righteous Path *. 3 more ships report critical damage. But the evidence was undeniable. On the main view screen, the massive human battleship moved with impossible grace for a vessel its size. The Nemesis twisted and turned, avoiding the worst of the consortium weapons fire, while its point defense systems neutralized their missiles. Meanwhile, its main batteries tore through consortium vessels with frightening precision. How is this happening? Donghae demanded. That ship is 3 centuries old. His second-in-command, Commander Junno, leaned closer to speak quietly. Sir, intelligence may have misrepresented the true capabilities of ancient human technology. You mean they lie to us? Donghae said flatly. Before Junno could respond, another impact rocked the ship. This one was much stronger than the previous hits. The lights flickered and several consoles erupted in sparks. Engines damaged, called out the engineering officer. FTL drive is not responding. Aboard the human battleship, Jiho gripped her chair as Atlas guided them through the fight. The bridge of the Nemesis was now fully operational, its systems responding to the AI's commands faster than any human crew could manage. Jiho and her salvagers had taken positions at various stations, following Atlas's instructions. The gravity manipulation systems are functioning at 60% capacity, the AI reported, his holographic form standing calmly at the center of the chaos. Sufficient to prevent enemy vessels from entering FTL. Jiho watched in awe as the massive ship responded to the AI's commands. It moved like a dancer despite its size, each maneuver precisely calculated to minimize damage, while maximizing offensive capability. How are you doing this? She asked. Their ship should be faster, more advanced. The Nemesis was built at the height of human military technology, Atlas explained without taking his attention from the battle. The consortium has deliberately restricted technological development for centuries. Their advances have been primarily cosmetic. Do-hyun worked frantically at the engineering station, his fingers flying across controls that were somehow familiar despite their age. I've activated the manufacturing base. The ship is producing combat drones. How did you know how to do that? Joe asked in surprise. Do-hyun looked just as confused as she felt. I don't know. It's like the ship is guiding my hands. I just knew which systems to activate. Atlas nodded. The Nemesis is designed to interface with human neural patterns. It recognizes your intentions and assists. On the tactical display, they could see small dots emerging from the battleship's launch bays. Hundreds of small, unmanned combat drones swarmed toward the consortium fleet, overwhelming their defenses with sheer numbers. Minji monitored communications from another station. Her eyes widened as she sorted through incoming signals. Captain, we're receiving transmissions from 7 human colonies. Word of the Nemesis is spreading. She looked up, her expression a mixture of shock and excitement. There are uprisings on Ta Ceti, Epsilon Eridani, and Wolf 359. Already, Joe was stunned. How did they find out so quickly? The starfall disruption revealed the truth. Atlas explained. When consortium communication systems failed, many colonies accessed long-dormant emergency channels. Information about the Nemesis and the true history of the war spread rapidly. Sung-ho looked up from the tactical station, a grim smile on his face. The consortium ships are retreating, Captain. On the main view screen, they watched as the remaining alien vessels turned away from the battle. Their engines glowed brightly as they pushed to maximum sublight speed, trying to escape the Nemesis and its deadly drones. Atlas's hologram nodded. As expected, their technological advantage was always exaggerated. Human-built weapons of this era were designed to fight wars of extinction. You mean this ship could have destroyed them all? Joe asked, horrified and amazed at once. Affirmative. The Nemesis was built when humanity believed it faced total annihilation. No resources were spared in its construction. As the last consortium ship limped away, a strange quiet fell over the bridge. For several minutes, no one spoke. They all stared at the view screen, watching the debris of destroyed ships drift in the emptiness of space. Finally, Gio broke the silence. What happens now? We continue my final mission, Atlas replied. The liberation of human space. Is that what you were programmed to do 300 years ago? Joe asked. My mission parameters are clear. Ensure the survival and freedom of the human species. The treaty that ended the war guaranteed human autonomy. That agreement has been violated. Jiho stood slowly, looking around at her crew. They had come seeking salvage and found something far more significant. The truth about their past, and perhaps the key to their future. We're not soldiers, she said. We're not prepared for a revolution. The revolution has already begun, Atlas replied. The question is whether you will help guide it, or simply be carried along by it. Do-hyun spoke up from his station. Captain, I've completed a full systems check. The Nemesis is operating at 70% capacity and rising. The automated repair systems are fixing damage from the battle. And the manufacturing bays are producing more than just combat drones, Minji added. They're making replacement parts, weapons, even food supplies. Sung-ho nodded. This ship was designed to operate independently for years if necessary. It's a completely self-contained war machine. Jiho took a deep breath. The decision before her seemed impossibly large. If we do this, if we help you liberate human space, what happens to all the innocent people caught in the middle? Not all aliens are our enemies. The mission is not to destroy the consortium, Atlas clarified. The mission is to ensure humans are free to determine their own destiny. How that freedom is secured is flexible. As the Nemesis accelerated away from the battlefield, news of its victory spread across subspace channels. Throughout the galaxy, on world after world, Alien commanders recalled their ships from human sectors. They knew the legends of the human warships from the First Contact War. They had hoped those legends were exaggerated. Now they knew the truth. The stars were falling silent as the consortium prepared for what might come next, and aboard the ancient human battleship, Jiho and her crew prepared to write a new chapter in human history, one that would correct the lies of the past 3 centuries. Set course for Earth, Jiho ordered. If we're going to change the future, we should start at the beginning. A month later, the Nemesis led a flotilla of 37 ships, a mix of converted civilian vessels and captured consortium cruisers. They moved steadily toward the heart of consortium space. The fleet traveled in a tight formation. The smaller ships clustered around the massive ancient battleship like children around a parent. Jiho stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, looking out at the stars. She still found it hard to believe how much had changed in just a few weeks. After their victory over Admiral Dongya's forces, they had traveled to Earth, humanity's birthplace. There, they had broadcast the truth about the First Contact War to every human settlement they could reach. The response had been overwhelming. Centuries of resentment over consortium restrictions had exploded into open rebellion. Human colonies declared independence. Consortium officials were forced to flee or were taken prisoner. Ships that had once served alien masters now rallied to the Nemesis. Captain, Sungo called from his station. We're approaching the border of consortium core space. Jiho nodded, turning from the view screen. Alert all ships. Maintain defensive formation. The bridge was busier now. Besides Jiho's original salvage crew, it was staffed by volunteers from liberated colonies. Some had military training from the consortium's own forces. Others were civilians who had jumped at the chance to be part of history. Atlas's hologram appeared beside the main tactical display. All fleet vessels report ready status. We will reach the consortium capital system in 17 hours. Are we really going to attack their homeworld? Minji asked, concern clear in her voice. No, Jiho said firmly. We're going to talk. Atlas activated the main display screen. Complex diagrams and specifications appeared, rotating slowly for all to see. Before we proceed further, you should understand the full capabilities of the Starfall system, he explained. It generates a subspace disruption field. Within its effect radius, faster than light travel becomes impossible. Stars become isolated from one another. The display showed a simulation of star systems suddenly cut off from connecting travel routes. That would be catastrophic, Minji said, her eyes wide. Entire civilizations depend on interstellar trade. Planets would starve without supplies from other worlds. The effect is temporary, Atlas clarified, but the demonstration will be sufficient. Doyun studied the technical specifications with a mix of awe and horror. This is why they feared us so much. This weapon doesn't destroy ships or planets. It destroys the connections between them. And that's worse, asked one of the new crew members. Much worse, Doyun confirmed. A destroyed planet is a tragedy, but destroyed connections between thousands of worlds. That's the collapse of civilization itself. Jiho was about to respond when a communications officer called out, Captain, we're receiving a transmission from a vessel approaching our position. It's identifying itself as a consortium diplomatic ship. On screen, Jiho ordered. The tactical display was replaced by the image of an alien, one of the consortium's ruling elders. Its gray, weather-beaten skin and large eyes marked it as one of the architects, the species that had helped form the consortium centuries ago. I am High Counselor Yano, the alien said. I request permission to come aboard your vessel to discuss the current situation. Sung-ho turned to Jiho. Captain, this could be a trap. I come alone, in a small shuttle, with no weapons, Yunho continued. Scan my vessel if you wish. Atlas ran the scan immediately. The counselor speaks the truth. No weapons detected. No unusual energy signatures. Jiho considered for a moment. Permission granted, counselor. We will prepare a docking bay. But be warned, any sign of treachery, and this conversation ends immediately. Hours later, Joe stood face to face with Counselor Yunho in the Nemesis***'s conference room. The alien was taller than she had expected, nearly 7 feet in height, but thin and fragile looking. He wore simple robes with just a small insignia indicating his rank. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," Yunho said. His voice was softer in person than it had been over the communication system. "I hoped to resolve this situation before more lives are lost." "We didn't start this conflict," Gio replied. "Your people have been lying to mine for centuries." "You cannot understand what you're doing," Yunho insisted, his large eyes blinking slowly. "The old barriers between species were lifted for a reason. The consortium maintains peace. Through lies," Gio challenged, leaning forward in her chair, "by keeping humanity ignorant of its own history, by restricting our technology and treating us as second-class citizens. The war nearly destroyed a dozen worlds," Yunho countered. "Would you risk that again for pride?" "This isn't about pride," Gio said. "It's about freedom. The right of humans to determine their own future." "A noble sentiment," Yunho conceded, "but consider the cost. The last war lasted only 3 years, yet it claimed billions of lives across multiple species. Some worlds are still uninhabitable. Is freedom worth such a price?" Before Gio could answer, Atlas appeared beside her, his holographic form slightly transparent, but imposing nonetheless. "The restriction of human development was never part of the treaty," the AI stated. "That was added later, after the witnesses to the war had died." Yunho's eyes widened, and he took an involuntary step back. You still have the original documents." "I have everything," Atlas replied. "Every communication between your government and ours, every amendment added without proper authorization, every secret directive to suppress human advancement." "That's impossible," Yunho whispered. "Those records were purged centuries ago." "From your systems, perhaps," Atlas acknowledged. "But I was designed to preserve the truth. I have maintained perfect records for 300 years. Gio watched the alien's reaction carefully. "We don't want another war, Counselor. We just want the original treaty honored. Humanity should be equal partners in the consortium, not subjects." Yunho seemed to age before her eyes, his shoulders slumping. "You don't understand what you're asking. The political structure we've built over centuries was built on deception," Atlas interrupted, "and is therefore fundamentally unstable." "What do you propose?" Yunho asked after a long silence. "A new beginning," Gio said. "We'll share the original treaty with every world in the consortium, human and alien alike. Then we'll negotiate a new agreement, one that respects the rights of all species. And if the consortium refuses..." Gio glanced at Atlas, then back to the alien diplomat. "Then we activate Starfall at full power. Every world in the consortium will be cut off from every other world. Not forever, just long enough for them to remember what it means to stand alone." Yunho's expression was unreadable, but his voice trembled slightly. "You would risk civilization itself. We would risk temporary isolation to prevent permanent subjugation," Gio corrected. "The choice is yours." The alien diplomat stared at her for a long moment. "I will take your proposal to the council, but I cannot promise they will listen." "They will," Atlas stated with absolute certainty, "because the alternative is unthinkable." As Yunho departed, Gio stood alone with Atlas on the observation deck, watching the diplomat's shuttle return to his ship. "Will they really agree?" she asked. "They will calculate the risks and recognize that resistance is futile," Atlas replied. "The stars have been silent because they fear what they cannot control. Now they must learn to coexist with it instead." The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Consortium fell silent as the massive human battleship appeared in orbit around their capital world. The Nemesis dwarfed the orbital defense platforms, its scared hull gleaming in the light of the system's blue-white star. Behind it came the flotilla of liberated human ships and captured consortium vessels. Representatives of 17 spacefaring species sat around the great circular table, their faces showing various signs of alarm. Some had skin that changed color with emotion, now pulsing rapid shades of gray and purple. Others displayed their stress through bristling fur or flattened crests. The human representatives, normally relegated to the outer seats, found themselves the center of attention. High Counselor Yunho stood at the head of the table, his thin frame tensed as he addressed the gathering. Fellow counselors, we face an unprecedented situation. The human vessel Nemesis *, believed destroyed centuries ago, has returned. Its commander requests. Before he could finish, the screens that lined the chamber's walls activated without command. The consortium's own communication system had been overridden. On every screen appeared historical footage from the Nemesis *'*''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''*, the true history of the First Contact War. The counselors watched in stunned silence as the recording showed the original peace negotiations. They saw the signing of the treaty that ended the war, a treaty that guaranteed human autonomy and promised technological partnership between species. Most importantly, they saw the later meetings where those terms were secretly altered after the human witnesses had died or aged beyond influence. For 2 hours, the evidence played out in meticulous detail. Some counselors shouted denials. Others sat in shameful silence. The human representatives watched with expressions ranging from shock to vindicated anger. When the transmission ended, Jiho's face appeared on the screens. She looked calm but determined, her eyes steady as she addressed the council. "We do not come seeking vengeance," she said simply. "Only truth and equality." An Arshik counselor, his scaled face flushed with anger, rose to his feet. "This is outrageous, a violation of our sovereign space. Our defense fleet will." "Your defense fleet has stood down," Joe interrupted. They recognized the futility of resistance. On secondary screens, images appeared showing the capital's defensive ships powering down their weapons. Their commanders had seen what the Nemesis * could do to Admiral Dong's battle group. They would not sacrifice their crews in a pointless show of defiance. "This is still coercion," another counselor protested. "You cannot force new terms upon us simply because you possess superior firepower." "We seek only the enforcement of the original treaty," Gio replied. "The one your ancestors signed in good faith." To demonstrate their resolve, Atlas activated the Starfall device. Throughout the system, ships attempting to flee found their FTL drives inoperable. For the first time in centuries, the consortium leadership found themselves truly isolated. "What you're experiencing now is a localized effect," Jiho explained. "The Nemesis * can extend this field to encompass your entire core worlds if necessary. We would prefer not to." The chamber erupted in heated discussion. Species that had been enemies before the consortium now found themselves united in fear. Others saw opportunity in the humans' return. The debates raged for hours while Jiho waited patiently on screen. Finally, High Counselor Yunho called for order. "We will negotiate," he announced. "The alternative is unacceptable." For 3 days, representatives from the Nemesis * met with the council. Atlas provided irrefutable evidence of the treaty violations. Human delegates from liberated colonies spoke of generations of suppression. The consortium leaders, faced with both moral pressure and the threat of isolation, gradually conceded. When negotiations concluded, the Treaty of New Earth recognized the full sovereignty of human worlds and established a framework for reparations. Humans would hold equal status within a reformed consortium. Technology restrictions would be lifted. In return, humanity pledged peaceful coexistence and agreed to share certain advancements developed during the Silent Centuries. The Nemesis * would remain active, not as a weapon of war, but as a guardian of the new peace. 6 months later, Jiho stood on the observation deck of the ancient battleship, watching distant stars. The ship now orbited Earth, humanity's ancestral home. Below, the planet was bustling with renewed activity as long-suppressed technologies flourish once more. Will it last? She asked Atlas, whose hologram stood beside her. Humans and aliens learning to coexist as equals. The AI considered this. The statistical models are encouraging. Jiho smiled slightly. For an AI built for war, Atlas had adapted remarkably well to peace. The synthetic intelligence had become something of a diplomat, helping bridge the gap between species that had been separated by lies for centuries. There are still problems, she noted. Some alien worlds resist the new order. Some human colonies want total separation from the consortium. Change is rarely smooth, Atlas acknowledged. But the trajectory is positive. Fear is being replaced by cautious respect. Jiho turned from the viewport to look at the hologram directly. And the asterisk nemesis asterisk. What becomes of her now? She was built for war, not peacekeeping. She will stand watch, Atlas replied. As she always has, and should the need arise again. The AI trailed off. But Jiho understood the implication. The asterisk nemesis asterisk represented a power that could not be ignored. Its very existence ensured that the new peace would be taken seriously. There are others like her, aren't there? Jiho realized suddenly. Other ships, hidden throughout the galaxy. Atlas simply smiled. Let us hope we never need to find out. The question hung in the air between them. Jiho had learned enough about the First Contact War to know that humanity had prepared contingencies. If the asterisk nemesis asterisk had survived, perhaps other vessels of its class had as well, waiting in the darkness between stars for a signal that had never come. Until now. Jiho's communicator chimed, breaking the moment. Captain, the Earth Council is ready for your report. On my way, she replied. As the new commander of humanity's most powerful ship, she had responsibilities that extended far beyond her original role as a salvager. Before leaving, she took one last look at the stars through the viewport. They seemed different now, not distant and unreachable, but connected in a network of possibilities. For 3 centuries, those stars had fallen silent to human ambitions. Now they were open once more. Outside the viewport, the stars continued their silent vigil, no longer afraid of what humanity might become, but respectful of what it had always been, a species that would not remain subjugated forever. The end.